Hi there, it's June the 12th and we're continuing our voyage through the first book of Kings, and today we're in chapters 9 and 10. These chapters really tell us a lot about Solomon's riches and wealth, about his fame, about his wisdom, and they start off by God appearing again a second time to Solomon and basically confirming that his family would continue on the throne. However, there's a strong warning against apostasy. There's a strong warning against following after idolatry and turning away from the Lord, and a warning that things would not go well for Israel if they do that. Then there's, in verse 11, there's a connection with Hiram that's been made. We talked about Hiram, king of Tyre, the one who's provided all the wood for the temple, and also some of his craftsmen as well have been coming to help out. And so Solomon, in response, seeks to pay back Hiram by giving him cities in the Galilee, 20 cities. But actually Hiram is not particularly happy with the cities. He calls them kuval, which in Hebrew means unproductive or sterile. And so instead, it seems Solomon, in order to repay the monies particularly that he's been lent, he has to raise taxes among the people of Israel. Now we find that the people of Israel are not being used as slaves. However, the people who are not Israelites, the remnants of the Canaanites, are actually taken as slaves and bondsmen by the Israelites. Then we also read at the end of chapter 9 of Solomon's navy. Of course, there are coasts in Israel, the Mediterranean coast, but the navy seems to be stationed down on the Gulf of Aqaba, right in the south of the country, and where today's Eilat is. And here there probably were smelting and refining places for metal as well, with ships bringing in metal that was then refined there. Archaeological finds seem to suggest that there was smelting going on, and this is where the metal works. So much metal, it says at one point that silver became like stones in Israel. There was so much silver they hardly kept account of it, and also so much cedar wood that it became like sycamores, it says at one point. And so there's the ships are being sent to Ophir, which is South Arabia, and it seems as though Israel also had the help of Tyre, which was also a seagoing nation, in training or in supplying seamen for the ships, because maybe Israel wasn't so skilled in ships, but they bring many different wonderful things, luxury items from all over the world, in fact, because they also are ships of Tarshish, it says. Now, we're not quite sure exactly where Tarshish is. It could be Spain, it could be Carthage, it may be Sardinia. There are several different ideas about where that could be, but Tarshish is mentioned as a place which is also involved supplying ships and bringing things in. Now, in the beginning of chapter 10, Solomon's wisdom and understanding have become so celebrated that he has a special visitor, the Queen of Sheba. We also know her as the Queen of Sheba. And the Queen of Sheba is probably connected with Ethiopia, certainly south of Solomon, and she comes with not just questions, but she comes with hidot, which means in Hebrew riddles or puzzles, conundrums, things that she really is tussling with, and she asks Solomon the answers to these riddles, the answers to these conundrums, these deep questions, and it says that Solomon can explain everything. She brings great gifts to Solomon, spices that cannot be fully described, they're so amazing, their variety, and brings rich gifts from her part of the world, and Solomon in return gives her back gifts from his great wealth. And she is so impressed, she's so overwhelmed by what she sees, that it says in the scriptures that this scripture that the spirit goes out of her, that she's completely overwhelmed, and she says, I heard about your fame, I heard about your wisdom and your wealth, but the half has not been told me. That's a famous statement that she makes. I haven't been told half the truth of what I'm seeing. And so the Queen of Sheba is amazed at Solomon's riches. And then Solomon also, we read, has a throne built, a very rich throne, and actually it's a throne which is encrusted with jewels, and it's made of ivory, an unusual and very precious item in those times. It's an ivory throne. And so the chapter comes to a close really describing just the amazing riches and luxuries which are here at this time in the nation of Israel. One thing that we note, going back to where we started, going back to the words of God, is that we know how attractive, we know how tempting riches can be. And we know that Solomon has much riches. He also has a heart after God, but we also know how diverted people can be by riches. I think that's why God, at the beginning of our reading in chapter 9, reminds Solomon that he will have his throne established, but he warns against going off and serving idols. And it seems that what's going to happen from here on in is we see a change in the way that things are going from this great summit of riches and joy and hope for the nation to somewhere where Solomon's heart is diverted into less important things. Something we always have to be guarding against for ourselves is to not be diverted from our love of the Lord by the material things that he may bless us with. Have a very good June the 12th.